So, hi, doctor.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon.
Good afternoon and good morning for you. It's morning, right, or afternoon?
It's afternoon now in England. It's what is it? 2:30 in the afternoon.
Uh,
2:30, 14:30.
um, can you uh, can you tell about yourself? Like the people who are watching this maybe may not be knowing you.
Of
Um,
course, I'm delighted. Shall I start from the beginning? Is that a good place for you to start in life?
no, just like what you are,
Right.
and
Well, let
yeah.
me tell you. Well, I was born in 1942. That's during the Second World War. So I was born into chaos. And it looks like I should be parting from the world in chaos as well, because the world is very chaotic at the moment, particularly in England, where things are really getting out of control. So I was born in France, in a little village called La Capelle, which is quite close to Boulogne-sur-Mer, which is on the north coast of France, on what we call the Pas-de-Calais, which is quite close to England. I understand, although I have no confirmation of this because my parents didn't talk about such matters. I understand my mother worked during the war for an organization called the Special Operations Executive. This was really a spying organization, well, a sabotage organization and a spy organization, which dropped agents into occupied Europe because, of course, Germany had invaded Europe in 1940, and France had been overrun by the Germans. And so I did not, my mother could speak fluent English, of course, although she was also fluent in French. But we didn't obviously speak English during the war because the Germans were there. They wouldn't be very happy with that. So anyhow, so I didn't speak English until I was about 7 years old. I only spoke French. So some people say I can't speak English now, but I'm better at speaking English than I am at speaking French. My mother's family, I should just explain, had very close connections with India. They were in India during the days of the Raj, I guess you'd say. My grandfather was a veterinary surgeon who was a specialist in elephant diseases. I don't think there's much call for that these days. And he also founded the Royal Veterinary School or College in Lahore, which of course in those days was part of India. So I have a great affinity for and respect for Indians. You have some wonderful scientists and some extraordinarily clever mathematicians. I think it's very good. And of course, a great deal of wisdom. I think the West is far behind on the wisdom which people in India and other Asian countries have, China have, about the world, about the meaning of the world. And as you say, you're studying astrology, which is, of course, although I know very little about it, is a very ancient belief system, knowledge system. And so I grew up and I started when I was about 18 to study medicine. But after a while, I decided I didn't like medicine. I didn't like the idea of becoming a doctor. And so I became a journalist instead. And for about 15 years, I suppose, something like that, I was sent all over the world covering stories. And I sent to very, very dangerous places in the world because there were, Middle East, for example, where there were conflict. Belfast, in Ireland, the northern parts of Ireland, where there was a religious war going on between the Catholics and the Protestants. And I decided that I was fed up or disinterested, rather, in being a voyeur. Being a voyeur, being a voyeur, I wanted to become somebody who could help. So I went back to university and I read psychology and I became a clinical psychologist. I also studied what is called psychopathology, which is the study of mental illness, like schizophrenia, mania, for example, obsessive compulsive neurosis, various psychiatric illnesses apart from the psychological illnesses. And I've been conducting research in this area, looking at anxiety and stress and ways in which people can be helped to overcome it for the past 40 years or so. I've written a large number of books. I also run a weekly, fortnightly. I work on a non-profit making website on YouTube called Mind Changers. And we try and help people change their minds, because if you change your mind, you change your whole life. You know, that's what you, if you can understand that. And so my colleague is a hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, and I talk about brain function because one of my specialities at the university was studying brain function, how the brain works in relation to anxiety and information processing and all these other kind of cognitive parameters. So I hope, let me know if you want more information.
I mean, I saw some of the books you have written about the mind, how the Hitler is being born and sort of stuffs like that.
Yes.
So would you, I mean, I have an understanding like what we see is what we are. Like what I can see is what I am.
Yes, exactly. It's your perception of the world. It's how your genes work. It's how you were brought up, what your education was, what your background was. You know, because the brain learns every moment, every second. It learns in the womb, when the baby is still developing in the womb. It's acquiring a whole range of knowledge about the world. Some of the knowledge is coming from the mother's chemicals in the. So, if, for example, the mother is an alcoholic, then the baby can develop fetus alcoholism. It can be severely damaged by the presence of alcohol. So right from almost from the moment of gestation, as the fetus is growing, it's learning, and you learn every second, not just waking seconds, but you'll also learn in your sleep, as your brain rehearses events in your life in the form of dreams. And so dreams can be very interesting in trying to understand the subconscious mind, how the brain is working below the level of conscious awareness. So, yes, I'm particularly interested in measuring electrical activity in the brain. I think a lot of your compatriots are interested in this field as well. There's been a developing field, particularly in America, called neurofeedback, where you actually put sensors on the head, and that enables you to read the electrical activity in the brain, which is a manifestation of how the brain is working. And at one stage in my research, I tried to teach people how to get into a meditative state in order to reduce their levels of anxiety. And to do this, I used a device called an EEG, which is electroencephalogram, which measures electrical activity. Electroencephalogram means writing electricity in the brain. That's how the word is put together. And I connected this to a toy train set. So when people learn to meditate and relax and develop particular patterns of electrical activity in their brain, the train would move around the track. And if they got anxious or lost their concentration, then the train would stop. So it was very funny, actually, because I found, particularly with men tend to be quite competitive. And so they would try too hard to meditate. And if you try very hard to meditate, you're not going to meditate. It's not going to be possible. So the train would stop and they would get very angry. But then if they relaxed and trusted their brain, in a sense, if you could say that, trusted their bodies.
So woman is more easier to meditate. Woman can meditate more easier. Is that what
I don't know. I've not done any research in that field. I think it depends. You have women who are very competitive, particularly these days. You have a very, women in business, women in politics, women in all sorts of areas can be very, very competitive as well. I think it's more of the way you see the world. Do you see the world as a competition in which you have to win at all costs? Or do you see the world as a place where you can be reflective and you actually will gain more by letting go and relaxing than actually fighting all the time? That's my view, it's my research.
So you so I mean, have you figured some kind of patterns which is been forming when yogis are meditating, sort of stuff like that?
I have done work with yogis, yes, not in India, but in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And they are very able to go into an amazing state of out. What we're looking, what I personally am looking for, is what we call the alpha state in the brain. And this technically is a state where the electrical patterns are between 8 and 14 cycles per second, or 8 and 14 hertz. And this seems to be associated with a very high level of relaxed alertness. So the brain is not overworking, though it is underworking. You're not asleep, but you're in this kind of state between a relaxed alertness and very attentive alertness. Now, I worked for a little while with a very remarkable young man. He's a young Englishman called Matthew Armet, and I think his surname was a name he adopted. I don't think it was his birth name. Maybe he adopted it because at the age of 16, speaking no Chinese, he flew out to China and managed to get himself accepted by a Shaolin monastery. I think it was 14 hours from the nearest town. It was very remote. And he spent 10 years learning the skills of Kung Fu and meditation and Buddhism, of course. And then he came back to England and he set up his own Shaolin temple in London. And we made a program together for the Americans. And he did a remarkable thing. In our laboratory, I wired him up, and so I could see what was happening in his brain. And he was able to produce these alpha waves, these waves between the 8 and 14 cycles per second, instantly, like that, like magic. The whole brain became taken over by this. And what he then did, I found this very hard to believe, except I saw it with my own eyes and we filmed it for television. He took a spear, with a very sharp point, and he went out to the university car park where I'm based. And I have my car there, which at the time was a Toyota Land Cruiser, which is a very big, heavy car. I think it weighs about 2 tons. And he put the spear point against his throat, no protection of any kind. And he put the other end of the spear against the bumper of the car, the front end of the car. And he then pushed the car something like 20 feet, I think, just with his throat. Now that's impossible, but I saw it happen. So, I think, and he does other amazing things. He'd get into a bath of absolutely boiling water, which would boil a pig or boil a cow, would boil an animal, and you could eat it. But he's untouched by it. I do not know how he does it. Actually, if any of your viewers are interested in looking at a film of this, I posted one on my Mind Changers website, on the YouTube website. So you could go and have a look, and you could see him in my laboratory developing these huge alpha waves. So
Yeah,
I think that's...
I saw some of your videos in your YouTube
All
channel.
right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. So tell me a little bit. I've told you about myself. I mean, I'm happy to explain anything else you want to know. But what about your YouTube? What about your podcast? Or I think that's the word, is it?
Yeah,
Video
podcast. Yeah.
podcast. I'm not very up to date with all these new technologies, I'm afraid. I'm of the older generation, as you may gather. So who watches it? I mean, I'm sure you've got thousands, tens of thousands of people who are very interested in your work.
Not exactly. I mean, I born in a astrological family. Then I spent almost 4 to 5 years into one gurukula, and spent some time with yogis and sort of stuff. Then I
Oh,
started to then I started to practice astrology, because in astrology I could see, like, you know it's kind of a map where you can come into center. You can centralize yourself. What I would like to say is, like, if we see in our own self, we can see the mind. In Vedanta they say it is mano buddhi ahankara chitta, which means that mind. Mano means mind. Buddhi means intellect. Ahankara means ego. Mano buddhi
oh,
ahankara. Chitta means self. It's beyond these three. Mano buddhi ahankara chitta ninadam. This is not this four. There is something beneath is existing, that is called Brahman or absolute, or some people call it as God or whatever. Some kind of something which has no quality. It has no shape or no quality. It has no gender. It has nothing. But uh, it is everything, like singularity. The point of singularity, there is no time but there is time. you know
yeah,
it's
I
very
can,
hard to, we can only imagine what it is. It's like, we can't explain. So the astrology, when I am looking at into that, it it has some certain quality, like, it is basically analyzing who you are, what you are. This is the point of a particular place where your um, uh, moon is staying, where your sun is staying. So these areas, you have some sort of energies. If we look at into that thing, and we make some certain sounds, like, it's people call it as mantra. Yogis and
yeah,
people call it as mantra. If we make certain sound, what happens is, like, that particular part get activated, and we can actually merge into this absolute or Brahman or code or whatever it is called. We can
I,
yeah, it's like, it's like taking LSD. It's a sort of
yes,
kind of things like
yes.
that. That is the experience actually.
How
um,
very interesting. And
so
I think you're very, I think breathing is very important. In my work, breathing is very important.
yes. Breathing, yoga, the
Yeah.
breathing also important, and the sound which we hear, because
Oh,
the thing is, like, what exactly what you are saying, what you see is what you are. Like, it's
yes.
perspective. So reality is not the perspective.
No.
Reality is not the reality is real. So get into that kind of transcendental state. We can use the astrology as a guideline, and basically we can also predict what is happening, what happened in your life, because these energies, see, the thing is, like, what you are experiencing in your life is actually not experienced by you. It's experienced by mind. Only mind can suffer, only mind can be become happy, only mind can be become whatever. Only you can't be, like, even if you don't have a hand also, you can still be happy.
Oh,
People
yes.
can, why it is, because the people who are guilty about what is happened is because their mind is actually making them to something. So this particular piece of understanding, or the particular piece called astrology, it's actually help people to come into the center. That is what I see, that is how I see this as. So what I done is, like, I started to write different peoples all across, like porn stars, drug abusers, child rapists, what different personality I started to write. And I started to document this thing. So far I have interviewed 8 of the peoples. those who works into adult industry, those who use drugs, those who works into sexual industry. So a lot of things wrote. So like that I have dropped one email to you, and you accepted it, and I'm so glad that
And I was very interested in it. You know, can you tell me, because I don't understand a lot of terminologies, you know, unknown to me, but if you could, can you tell me what, I mean, I couldn't tell you the date, the hour of my birth because I don't know. I imagine I was at that time, 1942, June 42. Uh, the Battle of Medway had taken place in the Pacific with the Americans and the Japanese. But apart from that, I don't know what happened. I imagine we were probably being bombed, but you know, things were very chaotic.
So
But
what I say is like there is 1 or 2 hours is not a problem, and I prepare two chart, the 6 month before your birth and 6 month after your birth, and your natal chart. I combine all these three, and 2 to 3 hours difference is there. It is not gonna make a big difference, but it will make a difference. For sure, but it is not going to make a big difference because the planets are not moving that far in 2 or 3 hours, so that is why I prepared your chart best in that
well,
way.
it was fascinating. I was very, as I say, very interested, very intrigued by it. I mean, did you find any major parameters in it of
Yeah,
significance?
yes. We can start with your nakshatra.
What?
Your nakshatra. So basically,
Uh,
nakshatra. It's a nakshatra means it's a Sanskrit term, which actually means that a group of stars.
all right.
So basically, uh, when you get birth, ascendant will be in a particular direction of where the star is. So that where the group of stars are existing, that group of stars are being taken as your nakshatra. So this nakshatra is very important concept in Vedic science. I mean, I would like to say it as Vedic science, and this is been spoken about in Nakshatra Suktam. It's a classification of 27 nakshatra and assigning them a mythological character, which is actually from Atharva Veda. There is something called the Nakshatra Sukta existing in Atharva Veda, um, and basically the nakshatras are from the Vedas. And also people say, I mean the rishis says astrology is the eye of Veda. So basically, Veda is a bunch of sciences like how to make medicines, how to make house, how to do yaga, how to do yajna. All those things are there in Vedas. In all for Vedas, it is been written. So, but why we are performing all these things? Why we need to get married? Why we need to get a house? Why we need to go through all the whatever is in life? Why we are going through? There is a reason. So this is like why we are going through is to understand and merge and experience the absolute or Brahman. It's very subjective level. It's not like objective level, like it is not depends on society, it's not depends on your morality, because Vedas don't define what is your moral code is. Whether you are a killer, you have to be a very good killer. If you are a if you are a psychiatrist, you have to be a very good psychiatrist. It's not like Semitic religions, like this is there is 10 commandments, like these are all the things you have to do and these are the things you should not do. No, in Vedas it is not like that. If whatever you are, you have to be good in it, what you do. That is your this thing. And why you are doing is to experience Brahman. And Brahman is not been given to one set of people, like those who are morally good and those who are morally granted, they will experience Brahman. No, it's not like that. Brahman is for everyone. whether you are a killer, whether you are a terrorist, or whether you are a doctor, whether you are a student, or whether you are a woman. It's irrespective of whatever it is. But once you experience the Brahman, you will definitely change, because you you will see everybody is embedded on you, rather than that of the you are separating yourself from the existence. You will see that you've been embodied into the entire existence. You are the part of the existence, so the character will automatically change. Nobody has to teach a person like that who has experienced the Brahman what is morality. But whatever he does, he can't do anything immortal. Like he can't put anybody into trouble. It is like very subjective level, the person will analyze what is happening. And uh, however, the astrology or the Vedic astrology is like a blueprint which goes deep into our subjective level.
Hello?
So let's start with your nakshatra.
I see. So, so what did you deduce from all the information you gathered?
It's basically, it has been classified. Um, so basically what it does is like, when you get a birth in a particular coordinate, there will be planets will be positioned across you.
Right.
Planets and nakshatras are positioned across you. So this is basically a snapshot of um, the planetary positions and nakshatra.
Okay.
uh, and this snapshot, like if moon is in first house, moon is in second house, moon is in third house, what it is actually trying to tell you, it is being observed and written as books. Like it starts from Veda. In Nakshatra Sutam is first coming. It's in Atharva Veda. It's almost 4,000 years back. It's first written. Then after that, people came and studied this rishis, what we call seers. Rishi means the Sanskrit word means seer, he who see the truth. So we call them as rishis. So they have written their own, research. People do research in university, in new university. Same way they done research on their own way, and they done. But the thing is, like, they don't do research; they do search. What does it mean? Like, research is something has been written, and we are trying to prove or disprove whatever it is. So but the search is again subjective level, is trying to experience whatever is being written.
Okay.
It's not
So
objective level.
did you come to any conclusions about where my life is going?
Yeah, I came. Yeah, that is what we are trying to see. Now we are going to your nakshatra. We can go to your nakshatra, right? You have any questions before?
I don't know what it means. I know what you told me, but I don't know the meaning of what you told me.
So nakshatra means, it's a group of stars. That's it.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that has influenced my course of life, my direction through life.
yeah, it is influencing. It will give directions in life, and also it will reveal some certain qualities of you. So that is what nakshatra is about. And it is positioned on the sky, and the nakshatra is being understood by when you get birth, where was the ascendant was. That is what your nakshatra. So it is like you are in the middle, there is a 360-degree circle around you on the
Right.
sky. So wherever the I mean, objects like the astral objects like Sun, Moon, Mars, Venus, and nakshatras, and all those things. Wherever in that particular, from if you look at on the sky from that particular position, that is how the sky will looks like.
Right. Right. And what does I mean, yeah. What does that tell you about
Yeah,
my
yeah.
me?
I'll share you screen. Huh? I'll share you my screen. Um,
Ah.
yeah. So you are basically in my
Oh, right. Yes.
you are in my website.
Yeah.
So
Hello.
yeah,
Ah.
yeah. So
Ah.
you can
I
see,
see.
right?
I've got that.
Yeah, we will go through this. Mm,
Gosh.
so your nakshatra name is Dhanishta. Okay.
Yeah.
There are 27 of nakshatras are there. One of them is Dhanishta. Okay. So that
Yeah.
is where your nakshatra, that is what your nakshatra is. That is called Dhanishta nakshatra. And uh, there is Pancha Pakshi. There are five birds are existing. That those five birds are in India. I mean the Vedas saying it is mystical animals, mythical animals. Okay.
I'm just sorry. I'm just reading what you said. I think that's very true.
So your
Ah.
nat your nakshat there are five animals, five birds. This is called a panchapakshi system. In the panchapakshi system, your bird is vulture. I mean the,
Yeah.
you can see the
That sounds a bit worrying. A vulture preys on other birds, on corpses. I don't.
um, so basically what does this bird says, it is
Uh,
like you know mm, this bird has an immense capability of uh, passing through death.
yes.
So and this like death also. So what does it means, like death is a very curious element for you. Actually you try to study a lot about the death, and if you look back, the starting point on the analysis which you done on your life is based on death. This is very curious element for you, because there is something is behind the death, and what is happening behind that, you strongly believe.
Gosh.
So
So
this is what this bird is telling. And yeah, so in Vedas, I mean in astrology, what we see is like uh, we human beings are not very particular animal or whatever. Like we are just a part of uh, the nature. We don't have any um, level up over the animals or birds or whatever. We are actually part of the nature. So
so this peacock is related to me as well, is it?
no, peacock
Oh,
is
right.
Shukla Paksha. So your Paksha is Krishna Paksha. So
Right. Okay. Yeah.
there is two Paksha. If you look at on the sky, there is a full moon to no moon, and no moon to full moon. There is two circles which moon will take.
Right.
So zero moon and the full moon. So what does it mean? Krishna Paksha is from full moon to no moon. Krishna Paksha.
Right.
And Shukla Paksha is no moon to full moon.
I see.
So your Paksha based on the time you got birth is Krishna Paksha. So vulture is your bird.
Right.
So this is what it is saying. Then this is the Moringa. What is that? Indian gum tree. This is your tree.
This is my tree.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So what does it means is that uh, every uh, elements on the earth has a certain kind of frequency which it produce, and that will resonate very easily with your own personality. So what is this is means the moringa or the Indian gum tree produce a certain kind of vibration which goes along with the vibration of your soul.
Okay.
So what does it means is like this tree is a particular tree which you could communicate easily. You can go near to this particular tree and you can talk to this particular tree, and this tree can easily communicate with you. I mean, this is mostly metaphysical level, what I'm talking in metaphysical level.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and this is a tree which you could go and talk and you can relate easily with. That is the moringa tree. So this is how your nakshatra looks like.
Gosh.
this, this is
Strange.
this is where the moon was when you got birth. So this is your Gana, Asura Gana. So basically, according to Vedas, human beings is being divided into three Ganas. One is Asura Gana, another one is Deva Gana, and another one is Mansha Gana. So I'll tell you what it is. Asura Gana is means the peoples who has demonic tendencies, and devagana, which means that peoples who has godly nature, and manushya which it means that peoples who has human nature. So uh, it necessarily doesn't mean that you are violent or whatever it is.
Uh,
What it says is like uh, you have a nature like this, like um, asuragana. You demonic nature. You understand the demonic nature, right?
oh yeah, I think so. But how does it manifest itself in the real world?
Um, so basically, Asuragana is the people who mostly, how do I relate? Mostly try to control people, and I'm not saying it is your character. Okay, this is the character. These characteristics will be there on your soul. That is what I'm saying. It's not
I
saying yeah, when we come into conclusion you will understand what this actually means. So asuragana is actually means that people who has demonic tendencies, those who work with black art, occult, occult practices they does, and those who use chemicals which to accelerate themselves into different experiences. And this is asuragana. And devagana means you know um, um, godly nature, people who always like the pleasant food, people who always like the uh, good smells, people who always looking for better things, what we assign godly things, we assign to some certain things like beautiful paintings and sort of stuffs like that. So I would like to say it's like angels, angels. So these qualities are the godly nature people. And asuragana is the the Lucifer in Christian mythology. We would like to Lucifer, but it is, again, it's not like in Vedas we are not saying it is bad or wrong or whatever. It is like a hidden or the hidden quality in our own self. If we analyze deep into ourself, this is something which is hidden on us. So this is asuragana. And the human nature is like people who behave like humans. Though humans has the qualities of both asuras and gods also, and they feel like helping peoples will make them to feel a sense of belongings and a sense of understanding sort of stuff. This is called human nature. So there are three ganas. One is asura gana, deva gana, and the human gana. From these
Okay.
three, yours is asura gana. So this kind of characteristics is deep inside you. This is what the nakshatra is giving. um, so there is a guna. Okay,
Yeah.
guna is the there are three guna: sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. So sattvic nature. So if we see into our mind, they will be having a balance in their mind. Their mind will be a balanced thing. They won't go that side or this side. It's a balanced mind. That is sattvic nature. And rajasic nature, these peoples are tend to tend to uh, rule the people. Like the animal which I could see with the rajoguna is the lion. Okay, lion is the animal that I can say it is a rajasic
Right.
animal. And masalas which are related to rajasic food. um, Sattvic food is like curd, na, the milk products.
Oh yes. Well, I don't. I'm vegan.
So milk product is the Swatik food. I mean, the if you become the food, you can understand what it is. Like, I mean, Swatik people has to eat that food or not. That is not what I am saying. I am saying this food is a Swatik food, which means that Swatik peoples will be like this particular food.
Okay.
And tamasic quality. Tamasic quality means that people who is like food which is been gone, you know yesterday's food, day before yesterday's food. So like that the tamasic nature will be. So your guna, from these are the three gunas which human beings possess. From these three, your most topmost guna is tamo guna, which means that what it does is like most of the people, it's cause a problem of overthinking. So they mostly think what is which is not real, and that causes them to lose their energy on the thought process. So that is what the three gunas means. And your guna on this three is tamasic guna. And Panchabhuta, there are five elements, water, earth, ether, wind, Agni, fire. So there are five elements is been related to human beings. So from this, your element is the ether. The Akash or the sky. So what does it means, like you have very imaginative thing from your young time itself. You will see on sky, and your mind will look at on the sky, and you try to see the sky. This is the one of the Panchabhuta for you. Sky is your Buddha.
Okay.
um, So there is two sides in mind. There is Shaivic nature, also Shaktic nature. So what does it mean? Shaivic nature means masculine quality, and Shaktic nature means feminine quality. So your nakshatra is the nakshatra which has the Shaktic nature, which means that it is it has the uh, mm, feminine side more than that of the masculine side. For instance, feminine side in the sense, creativity and cooking sort of things. That is the Shaktic nature means. So the nakshatra will be having two nature. One is Shaivic nature and another one is Shaktic nature. So Pitta nature. Um, so what does this Pitta nature means? Vada, Pitta, and Kapha. In Ayurveda, if we see, these are the three things which causes the health issue. One is Vada, another one is Pitta, another one is Kapha. So from these three, Pitta nature is more on you, and if you balance this with the food, the food which will balance the pitta nature, most of your health issues will disappear. So the pitta nature, the what the food is like, the food which is easy to digest. So if you eat that kind of food, it can reduce the health issues which you are having.
What kind of? I'm sorry. What kind of food? Not curries, not fiery food.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't understand. I've got to eat fiery food. What you're speaking of
uh,
curries? I mean, I hate curry. Uh, my
no.
grandfather loved the hottest curry in the world, and they would bring him the hottest curry, and he would say, "Add more chilies. It's not hot enough." But my partner loves curries,
Mhm.
but I just make me ill.
So what does it mean? This food which is easy to digest, like corn.
Oh right, yes, yes, I
Uh,
understand. Not
yeah,
necessarily not stuff with a lot of chili in it.
yeah, chili less food.
Cumin is lovely. I take cumin as a supplement because it's very good for getting rid of inflammation. Everybody should eat cumin.
Huh?
Cumin, is that what you call it? It's the basis of curry. Well, basis of Indian
I,
food, I
I
thought.
don't know. I
Oh well, I know. I'm sorry. Go on. What is solar gods of energy and light?
so this link is been given in the PDF document which I have shared with you.
Right. Can I download these notes and study them in my own time?
I have sent you.
Oh, you've sent me the link already.
Yeah,
I beg.
that day itself I have sent you. First day.
I mean, I could read the URL here / category / astrology / etc.
Huh,
But
Dhanishta. But this document I have sent you in
You-
another
Oh, thank you very
yeah,
much. I
PDF.
haven't been.
That PDF document I have sent you now. It is
All
there
right,
in the PDF.
right. Thank you very much.
So the when we are coming to gods, as we know, the Indian or the Asian religions believe in multiple gods.
Indeed.
So what does it actually means? The multiple gods are the not gods as such. It's a is have you heard about Pure Land Buddhism? Pure Land Buddhism.
Yes, yes.
So if people chant the mantra of the Amitabha Buddha, they believe that they will get rebirth into the plane of the Amitabha Buddha where he is into. So that is what the Pure Land Buddhism speech. In the same way, there are lot of Buddhas are existing. Buddhas are nothing but it's a consciousness. It's an expanded consciousness which is been located in. It's a metaphysical body which is existing in this particular universe which we are into. So Ashtavasu is a particular metaphysical body which is something similar to the Amitabha Buddha. You know, so this Ashtavasu uh, are the they protect what the mythological figure which is been assigned to this particular vasus, are that they are protecting that particular area of the sky. So you are related to Ashtavasu, so which means that if you chant the mantra of the vasus, what it happens is like it will actually help you to accelerate your own energy self, and it will help you to live your particular life in a more intensive way.
That's
So that is not gods actually. Because the nowadays people are making the term god as a cliche. People say that Hindus are believing in thousands of gods. No, it's not it's wrong actually. Hindus don't believe in thousands of gods. It's all the one energy sports. It's not a god. Actually Hindus don't believe in god itself. It's not talking about god. It's all about Brahman, and it is only one single entity. That entity is has no characteristics. It has no shape, no nothing. It's like a point of singularity. It's a singularity. I would like to say it as a singularity. We can only experience that. We can we can get merged into that when we are alive. So there is no concept of god also in Hinduism. uh, People are saying Hindus believe in thousand gods, and they are no what they are not realizing is that Hindus don't have the uh, concept of god.
I understand. I understand. Well, this has all been. This is fascinating.
So there is a kriya. So kriya means there are two kind of thing. One is yoga and another one is kriya. Kriya is
Right.
something helps you to accelerate your own self to get more into. So the kriya is more related to tantric practices like accelerating self and awakening kundalini kind of things. That is what the kriya is more related to, and yoga is mostly about the body, like making into getting into good shape and sort of stuff. That is what the yoga is mostly about. And kriya is actually it's helping us to experience the absolute or the Brahman. That is what the Kriya is all about. So there is a Kriya for Dhanishta. I have made a video for that, how to do that. And this Kriyas has been, Yogi Bhajan.
Yes.
So they have practices which is similar to these Kriyas. Um, then there is a Yoni, which is Simka. So what does it mean? There are 12 Yoni. 12 yoni, which means that this 12 yonis is being divided into 27 of the nakshatra, and it is actually Kama Sutra position which people can practice into bird, that will give them more uh, um, love making is more pleasurable and divine.
Right.
So, what does it means that you have a lion yoni, and what does it means that you will be interested to rule in bird actually. When you making love, you would like to rule the bird.
I don't think that's me at all. I I'm afraid not. I never get angry. I never get aggressive or ferocious. I don't think I'm lazy either. I work a lot. But it's interesting.
So, yeah, this is what all about your nakshatram, Dhanishta.
I see. Well, this is all fascinating. I could read all this. Can you send me the link to this?
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll send you.
Because I'd like to study it myself. It's very interesting. I'm very fascinated by what you have told me.
Um,
Have I given you enough information? Are there any more questions you'd like to ask me?
like
Gosh,
you do you would you do you see any psychological aspect of whatever we have discussed here? Can you
I
see
think what
some?
you're saying is very interesting. It's certainly given me a lot of food for thought. Uh, but I'd like to go away and study this in my own time. And, I don't like, I'm making up my mind about anything very quickly. I like to reflect on things and think about them. I think what the meaning of it is for me.
So would you like to, I mean, can you like to help me, like, I mean, can we talk maybe in later time, like whether there is a psychological aspects which you could see over here or something
Let
like
me,
that?
as I say, yes, let's by all means, let's do that. Let's either have a Zoom conference or exchange emails,
Hmm.
and I will happily talk to you about the psychology. But I need to understand what you, better what you very carefully explained to me, which I found very interesting, before I can decide what sense I make of it within my own framework of knowledge.
Yeah, that will be something interesting, you know.
So, thank you. That's okay. I got the HTTPS there.
No, no, I'll send you this. I already sent you. I'll just send you
Oh,
right
well,
away.
yeah, I've got all your emails on my system. I'll just click on the link.
I'll just send you right away.
Enlightenment who carried with second task. Ha ha ha.
I'll just
Have you
send.
read a book called If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, Kill Him?
That is very true.
It's about people who claim to be Buddhas or gurus who are not. They're just fraudsters or they're just self-deluded. And you want to be very careful, I think that's a good saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very good actually. It's very correct.
Yes,
Uh,
it's
people
interesting.
people does it all the time. No, they killed Jesus. They put him into cruise.
Oh,
They
yes.
crucified
Oh,
him.
yes.
People
Well,
does it all the time.
I think it's safe from having to think about it.
They does it all the time actually.
I'm afraid that's true. Well, listen, whereabouts in India are you based?
I'm based in Bangalore. Right now I'm in Bangalore.
Oh, right, right. Yes, I don't know it. I have been to India myself, but only to Bombay and Calcutta
Uh-huh.
and
You've
Delhi.
been in
But
Bangalore? Or?
no, I don't think so. I mean, that's many years ago. I'm quite ancient now.
Uh,
God, this is so interesting. You've done a huge amount of work on this. I'm very grateful to you. I should look forward to reading it with immense interest.
no, the thing is like, the nowadays the peoples are not giving much importance to this particular astrological work, because it is like some people it is using it as a dogma, like
Yeah,
some people are getting caught into this framework, like it is like it has no real life application. And mostly, you understand the samsara rather than that of working on mind, like what I would say, we spoken already, like what we see is what we are, so how to program what we see, that is what this entire aspect of the the astrology. So the basically peoples are like a mirror. On the time goes on, when they caught up with their life, what happens is like there will be complete dust on the mirror. People has to clean it up here and there
yeah,
in order to make it so uh,
you're right.
so
So, shall we speak again in a few weeks' time, or
yeah. No,
we can do
we haven't spoken about your chart yet. We just spoken about your nakshatra.
right. Well, I have another meeting coming on in about 10 minutes' time, so I have to
Uh-huh.
finish this one. But listen, thank you very much. We've been speaking for an hour, which is
Mm-hmm.
great, and I'm very interested in what you have to say. I'll read what you sent me,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe send you an email in a week or so's time when I've had a chance to read it.
Yeah, we
Hello,
could.
you're back again.
Yeah.
Good, good. So listen, take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Alors, j'espère que tout va bien avec vous. I'm saying I hope all goes well with you.
Yeah.
So that's by going back to my original language. But your English is very good indeed, excellent.
Thank you.
Much better than my Hindi. Non-existent, so it wouldn't be difficult to be better than that. But I think you have a wonderfully interesting world to live in.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Mind you,
uh,
I'm not sure whether that's the kind thing to say because there's a Chinese curse which says, "May you live in interesting times." That's either said as a curse. So I think we both live in interesting times at the moment.
yeah, and we have to speak about your chart also, birth chart, the planetary positions. We just spoken about your nakshatra. We didn't spoke about your natal chart.
Right. Well, perhaps we could do that on the next occasion.
Yeah, yeah, we will do it in next occasion. So,
So you can,
you as concluding this, would you like to say something to people who is
yes.
gonna?
What I'd say, what would I say? I don't like pieces of advice. I think they're rather spurious. But I say what my work has shown is the world is much more interesting and much more complicated, and we are much more easily led astray by people with bad intention. I think 2,500 years ago, Sun Yat-sen, the man who wrote The Art of War, said there are 5 human weaknesses which you can recognize by the word flag. And these 5 weaknesses are fear, lust, anger, greed, and envy. And if you are people who try and manipulate us and seduce us and subvert us will try and plug in on one of those weaknesses. They'll try and make us afraid. They'll try and make us satisfy our sense of greed or make us angry. And if you look at social media these days, you see that so many people are intent on making people afraid, people angry, people greedy. Uh, I'm sorry, the final S, flags, it stands for sympathy. or they'll try and arouse our sympathy for a particular cause. And should be very wary when anybody, because what they will do, they will offer you what is called in business world, hurt and heal. They'll first of all try and hurt you, and then they'll offer you an apparent solution. So you, for example, you are very afraid. You are right to be afraid. The word is very, I'm saying this is what they say, not what I say. Be afraid, be very afraid, and I will show you how to overcome that fear. Vote for me, buy this product, do this. Be aware of these people. They're out to manipulate your mind in some virtual sense. You know, don't. Einstein, you know Albert Einstein, the world famous physicist. He was a Jew, and when the Nazis came to power in 1930s in Germany, they had a huge genocidal anti-Jewish program, and Einstein had to flee, and he fled to America. And when he was in America, 40 German physicists published a letter to one of their newspapers, one of the German newspapers, and said that relativity was all wrong, and it was a Jewish plot. And people said to Einstein, journalists said to Einstein, what do you think of this? And he said, it doesn't matter if 40 people tell me that. It just takes one person to show me that. So I think, well, one good word of warning is don't believe something because people tell you that. You know, believe it if they can prove it that. So that would be my advice. Be aware. There are a lot of demons out there trying to subvert you and take your allegiance, take your money, take your beliefs, all for their own gain and not for your gain.
So how do you see the reading of mind? Like, is it something giving a value to people, or did it given some value to you?
Anything which makes me think about how I approach the world and what perceptions I have of the world and how I think about the world is very valuable because it challenges your assumptions, you know. And a lot of the things we make because when I was studying medicine, there was a very pompous consultant, and he always believed that what he said was the truth, and what anybody else said, if they contradicted him, was not true. And on one occasion, he was contradicted by a young student in a diagnosis he made. And he was very angry about this. He said, young man, I have had 40 years experience of diagnosing this disease. And the young man said, sir, in my opinion, you've had 1 year's experience, which you have repeated 40 times. So just because somebody has got a lot of what they term experience doesn't mean that they're right. But I think anything which makes us think about, even if we don't believe it, think about it. What is it telling you? What is it telling you about yourself? You know, because we are what we have been experienced to, and you have through this past hour or so have shown me a different world of way of looking at my mind, which I find very valuable and interesting.
If somebody want to contact you, or what all are the things people can contact you, and if somebody want to
Yes,
contact you, how they can
certainly
do that?
you can publish my email on your site by all means. It's very easy to if you could write to me at David. This is my full name, David, at Dr. Dr for Doctor David Lewis, Lewis, David Lewis, Dr. David Lewis.co.uk.
Okay.
Parce qu'en ce moment, j'habite en Angleterre.
Yeah.
Because at the moment I'm living in England.
So for what reason people can contact you? For
Of course, they just drop me an email. I'm always happy to get emails from interesting people like yourself.
yeah. Thank you, Dr.
So,
Sparing. Yeah.
yes, goodbye. How do you say goodbye in your language?
Shukriya.
Ciao?
Huh?
What?
No. Shukriya. Bahut shukriya.
Oh, shukriya.
Yeah.
Something like that?
Huh?
Okay. Okay. Well, and you can say goodbye in English because your English is so good.
Yeah.
And
Bye bye. Goodbye.
thank you very much for the call.
Yeah.
Lovely speaking with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye now.
Yeah.